Good morning. Of course, that lets you know that I'm used to getting things started early in the morning. Good evening. I'm Martin Houston, and this is a special edition of the Martin Houston Show. We're going to be talking over the next hour. We're going to be talking about the Alabama kickoff against the Utah State Aggies. If you want to find out more about what I do each and every day when it comes to sports talk, make sure that you tune in each and every day on Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. And of course, the Martin Houston Show is played on the Martin Houston Radio Network on various outlets, including the Martin Houston fan page, Martin Houston personal page, Martin J. Houston, as well as Alabama Tradition, XL Sports, and on YouTube at Martin Houston Live and on Twitter at Martin Houston 35. So we're ready to get things rolling. So excited that you've chosen to join with me on this evening. We'll probably do something similar tomorrow night as part two of tonight, because I'm sure we will not get to all of the information that we have to talk about. But this is, as I said, the Martin Houston Show, a special edition of the Martin Houston Show, the season opener. And we're going to be talking a little true false, something we do on the regular show. Which Heisman Trophy candidate will take the lead off of the Alabama team? Of course, we know that the Alabama Crimson Tide have three Heisman Trophy candidates. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jamar Gibbs. Which one of those guys on Saturday's game is going to take the lead and be the front runner, at least off of this team? We're talking biggest surprises of the summer when it comes to the depth chart. We'll break that down in some great detail. We'll also be looking at what's your biggest concerns. I know that this Alabama team seems to be a team that, without a doubt, um, is special and has a great opportunity to make a huge difference and maybe even make a national championship run. But do you still have some concerns? And to help us figure out that concern, we're going to go deep on um, we're going to go deep into the situation of breaking down the depth chart with Alabama. So make sure you stay with us the entirety of the show, and we will make things happen right here on the Martin Houston Show. And you're always welcome to get in on the conversation. All you have to do is add yourself in chat, and when you put that chat question there, we'll bring that into the conversation. So once again, I'm Martin Houston, and this is a special that we're running for the Martin Houston Show season opening special. And I said this is part one. We'll also have a part two where I'll add some guests into the conversation. So let's get things started. This Alabama Crimson Tide team has had to spend the last few months, 8 months or so, I guess, 9 months, based on how you counting, as they have prepared to revenge themselves from the disappointing loss to the Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs, without a doubt, uh, got the Alabama Crimson Tide. Uh, we didn't run out of gas per se, but it seems like once we lost our wide receiver, Mr. Williams, Jamison Williams, we just couldn't find our sea legs again, and Georgia pulled away in the end. Did Georgia perhaps give Nick Saban a blueprint for how to win in today's game? I know that we always talk about Coach Saban and how he is, without a doubt, one of the leading forefront guys, forerunners when it comes to evolution and evolving as a coach. So did Kirby perhaps show that? And the reason I say that, we'll start looking right at the defensive side of the ball and the defensive front. We talked about this today on my show. When you look at the nose tackle position, DJ Dale, a senior, Jaheim Otis, 340 plus pounds of behemoth man. He is without a doubt going to be a game wrecker as he spends his career here at Alabama. And then, of course, Tim Keenan, the third redshirt freshman. So two of the three front nose tackle guys are freshmen and true freshmen, redshirt freshmen and true freshmen. And so has Nick Saban, Nick Saban borrowed that. Of course, Jordan last year for Georgia, big man in the middle who, in some ways became obsolete in games because of conditioning and wasn't able to always play. But he was a nightmare and a terror when he was on the field. So is Nick Saban going to use some of that in his game plan this year? So we'll find that out as the season rolls along. But let's just take some time, break down this depth chart. You look at Tim Smith Jr. As a starter. He has moved from that nose tackle position, maybe dropped a few pounds, got a little quicker on his feet. So having played on the inside where there's a lot of traffic and a lot of double teams, it's going to be interesting to see how Tim Smith manages and plays out on the edge a little bit with a little less traffic and with his experience of playing and taking on double teams. I think that's going to bode well for him. Look for him to potentially be one of those breakout players. Every year we seem to have a Quentin Williams, and last year it was Mathis, and the year before that it was Barrymore. So is Tim Smith going to be that defensive lineman that comes out of nowhere? Well, not completely out of nowhere, but takes that huge leap forward in his junior season. I'm expecting big things from Tim Smith, and I think the move to defensive end is going to help catapult that. When you look at the other defensive end, you have Byron Young. Byron Young is one of my favorite players. I like to just watch the way he plays the game. I don't think he gets a lot of publicity and a lot of coverage, but he is a guy without a doubt who I think has such a huge upside and motor and was able to work himself into the starting rotation. So the three guys, Tim Smith, DJ Dale, Byron Young, three guys with a lot of experience, and junior, two seniors, a lot of experience on that line. But this year's class of players is deep. You have Jamil Burroughs, who is a guy I think very well would start at 99% of the schools out there, and very well may be a starter in this defense as well. Someone has to start the game, but look for Alabama to use 6 to 9 guys on a consistent basis. I would expect to see when the game's over, Jamil Burroughs, Justin Eboigbe especially, to have played approximately the same amount of time that you see from the likes of Tim Smith and Byron Young. Both of those guys were top-notch players last year. Once again, junior, senior, older guys, a lot of experience. So look for Alabama's defensive line to be special. And then, of course, you throw into that second group Otis, Jaheim Otis. And I don't know that the second team, especially with the way they talk about Mr. Otis, if they won't be as productive, if not more productive than the first group. Then you move over to the third group, and these guys would start at most schools, most SEC schools, most top-notch programs. Damian Payne Jr., Damon Payne Jr., I'm sorry, would be a guy who I think would see serious minutes, a big body defensive tackle, as well as Jamarian Latham, a young man from right down the road from Tuscaloosa. I think he's going to be a potential breakout defensive lineman. I think he's going to be really, really athletic, able to move around a lot and create some havoc. So do not be surprised to see him really, really take a big step forward this year. Tim Keenan the third, young man I got to see some film on when he was in high school, was just simply a beast like nobody's business. Could not be blocked by most of the time by two men. One of the most impressive plays I think I saw in high school by him was he hit the center who hit the quarterback who fell into the running back. So one shot, all three backwards. And I don't know that he's going to do it at that level, but expect him to make some serious plays. And as you look at those nine guys, and maybe some other guys get in there as well, I don't know that we have a guy of the level of a Quinnen Williams in this group. I don't know if we have a guy at that level or Jonathan Allen, but the ceiling may not be as high for this group, but I believe that where this group is going to be strong and be a difference maker for Alabama is the floor. The floor will not be very low, meaning when you go from one guy to the next, I think you're going to see consistent play and the level of play not drop off at all. So look for this defensive line, not to necessarily carry the team, but to make the outside guys and inside linebackers even better. Watch for this group to maybe as a combination even have more sacks than our interior linemen have ever had as a group. So go check them out. Those guys will be back in just a moment right here on the Martin Houston Show season opening special edition right here on Tide 100.9 is where we air each and every morning. But this is happening on the Martin Houston Radio Network. So glad you've chosen to be with me. We'll be back in just a moment for more talk about Alabama versus Utah season opening special number one. All right, we're back in with the Martin Houston Show season opening special. So glad that you've chosen to be with us this evening. We'll continue to move the conversation right along. Thank you so much for making this a part of your evening nightcap as we look inside the Alabama depth chart, breaking down the defensive side of the ball. We'll also be getting to a couple of other topics, but let's move on through that defensive depth chart. Of course, we have Mr. Will Anderson at Jack linebacker. And then on the other side, Dallas Turner, his counterpart, clearly Nick Saban's best two outside linebackers individually. Will Anderson clearly the best. Dallas Turner well on his way to maybe being the second best in the Nick Saban era. And hey, who knows? He may even grow up and one day challenge Will Anderson for that. But as a combo, these two guys clearly the best that Nick Saban's ever had when it comes to pass rushing, as well as being consistent against the run and definitely tackles for losses. So looking for a big season from Mr. Will Anderson. Of course, he is without a doubt the best player in college football, despite not winning the Heisman. I think he individually, from the standpoint of dealing with a player who does not, or focusing on a player who does not have the ball in his hands and you try to scheme away from him. I don't know if there's a player in the game, or there's been a player in the game in the last few years that is as disruptive as Will Anderson. And, you know, the guy has a motor that doesn't quit. And the best example we saw of that was this summer when you saw him in the team picture without a smile, and his teammate Bryce Young said, "This is him smiling." So that lets you know just how intense the young man is. And I look for him to have another record-setting season, barring any injuries. Last year, his numbers were through the roof. Clearly, the best numbers in the country in terms of tackles for losses and total sacks. And he had about 3 games in the middle of the season where he was injured. So Will Anderson exceed last year's stats? We'll talk about that in the next quarter when we break down the conversation about which one of Alabama's Heisman Trophy candidates takes the lead. Of course, Dallas Turner, look for him to have a big season once again. But hey, listen, people are going to respect him a little bit more this year. So his numbers may take a dip. And Will Anderson's numbers could go up because now you have to pick your poison. When you try to run away from Will Anderson, you're running into another very capable defensive lineman. When you look at the inside linebackers, if there's a question mark for this season or this defense, you may start right there in the middle. Kudos to Jalen Moody for hanging on to the job, redshirt senior. But will he be able to defend off Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell, a freshman who has worked himself into the depth chart? So will a Jalen Moody be able to hold him off? Of course, and we'll watch that closely. May even throw you a little buy sell in there right now. If you were looking at Jalen Moody, would he be a buy or sell if you were having to make a prediction for him remaining a starter throughout the season? So we'll watch that closely as the season approaches. And then on the other side, of course, you have the Mike linebacker, Henry To'oTo'o, transfer from Tennessee, coming back for his senior season, saying he had unfinished business. He came to Alabama to win a national title, and that is exactly what he's going to do. So kudos to him. We're going to watch and see what happens with Mr. To'oTo'o. Has he figured out that he can play this game in Alabama without having to cover everybody? He seemed to be hitting his stride as the season was coming to an end. Can he pick back up there and explode into another big time all SEC type season. If he doesn't, he has a guy behind him in Kendrick Blackshire, who I think is just waiting on Toa to stub his toe, figuratively speaking, so that he can jump into that starting lineup. So we'll continue to watch that competition closely as well. I think Blackshire sees playing time. Do not think he overrides or unseats Mr. Toa. Then, if you look to me, it's not a talent question, but it's my biggest question going into the season off of this defense. Not from a talent standpoint, maybe not even from are we better in the secondary than we were last year? But when you look at it, it's just interesting. We have Kool-Aid McKinstry locking down one corner, and then Terrion Arnold locking down the other corner. And so the question you have to ask yourself is Mr. Arnold clearly the second best corner on this team? One of the things I pointed out on my show, the Martin Houston Show, which airs every Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. on the Martin Houston Radio Network, on social media outlets, and on Tide 109 on the radio, is that, one of the interesting insights is both of these starters at corner are guys who were two-sport athletes and actually signed to play basketball as part of their deal here at Alabama. Neither one has done that yet, I don't think, but interesting that they're the starters. Will they both be starters by the end of the season? They also will qualify for the buy sale as well when it comes to especially Mr. Terrion Arnold, because it seems that he took advantage of injuries from Eli Ricks and Kyrie Jackson, who are both running backups in the second group. And number 7, Eli Ricks, the question I have for him, he's a junior transfer from LSU, big time freshman season. Of course, COVID year, didn't play last year a lot due to injury. So has he struggled, or is it the injury? But what was surprising was that he was moved from the left corner to behind Kool-Aid. And then Kyrie is behind Terrion Arnold. So if Arnold is not the true number one and Kyrie Jackson is the true number one, that's the way that seems to lay itself out, because it wouldn't make sense to move Ricks over to the left corner if he's running back up to the second corner. But that may not be the case. So we'll watch that and see if Eli Ricks, a big-time talent, possibly the most talented of the corners, if he's able to work himself into a starting lineup. But Mr. Arnold got his opportunity, taking full advantage of it, and does not look like he's going to be willing to give that up anytime soon. So we'll watch and see if he's able to hold on to that position. Mr. Jackson, once healthy, may supplant him and get back into that starting lineup. After that, even though those guys, I think those guys are really talented and we're more talented, but that's still the question mark that I have out of the defensive backfield. I think they're better than what we had last year, maybe the best we've had in the last couple of years. Then you get to the safeties in the star position. And I say Alabama, I mean, wow, it's possible that you could have 3 or 4 guys drafted out of this group. DeMarco Hellams at free safety, Jordan Battle at strong safety, Brian Branch at star, not drafted, I shouldn't say, but in the top 1-2 rounds, all 3 of those guys. Hellams is a hitter. Jordan Battles is a hitter, but also a heady guy. And then, of course, Brian Branch has proven himself to be a big-time player and uses his smarts to be able the interesting part of those guys is they all three have played a lot of football. And that's what I like about this particular defense. You take in the starting rotation, you have a redshirt freshman, only guy without any playing experience. Everybody else, Kool-Aid McKinstry in his second year to start, Dallas Turner in his second year to start, and that's the young guys. Everybody else on this team are juniors and seniors with 3+ years of starting experience or playing experience. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seniors on this defense. Is this Nick Saban's best defense that he's ran out there? Well, if it's not, there's going to be a lot of disappointment when it comes to the Alabama faithful. To me, this is a great year for Pete Golding and a crunch year for Pete Golding. He has the opportunity to hush all the naysayers, all the people who have spoke ill of him. This is his opportunity because it looks like he's going to go into the season for the first time with all of his guys, meaning that he's not going to have to find somebody to replace someone. He's not going to have to find someone to help step in until someone comes back. As a matter of fact, he looks like he has a second team that might be as good as some of the defenses he ran out in times past with the likes of Quindarius Robinson and Chris Braswell as the backups at outside linebacker. Jeremiah Alexander, a guy who could be a next big time outside linebacker. And of course, you got to give him a shout out. The guy's wearing number 35, so you know he's a special football player. So lots of big names out there for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Malachi Moore, Christian Story, Devontae Smith, the DB in the rotation at second team. And then, of course, the only third team DB listed, Jaquez Robinson. So interesting list there. We'll continue the conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show as we transition to a little buy sale. Talk a little bit. Let's not go to buy sale. Let's go into which one of the three players that have Heisman hopes, which guy takes the biggest lead on Saturday. We'll be back right here on the Martin Houston Show season opening special, right here on the Martin Houston Radio Network. All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show special edition season opening special on the Martin Houston Radio Network. So glad that you've chosen to join us today. We're moving right along and want to encourage you to keep it right here for the next 20 or so minutes as we continue to break down the Alabama Crimson Tide before they head into the season. I want to encourage you to also make a note, 6 to 7 a.m. Monday through Friday on Tide 100.9 and on the Martin Houston Online Radio Network, on Facebook, social media outlets, starting with the Martin Houston fan page on Facebook, Martin Houston Live on YouTube, and at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. Each and every day, you can interact with us live via chat or call us on the Alabama One hotline at Tide 109 at 205-342-9904. No calls during this show, but you definitely can call us when we're live in the mornings. So, hey, let's continue the conversation. Utah State coming into Alabama. Not expecting this to be much of a contest when it comes to Alabama versus this particular team. Utah State Aggies. Kudos to the record they had last year, but they're not ready for the big time. Alabama is going to have to play smart in this game. Your goals as coaches is to get the win, to get conditioning, to get experience for some guys, get rid of the first game jitters, and get out without injuries. In that order is probably what Nick Saban wants to accomplish. In doing that, will Nick Saban give opportunity for his Heisman hopefuls to have a big-time game? So as you look at the Heisman hopefuls, you're talking about Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. As you look at these three guys, which one of these guys is most likely to have a Heisman-type day? Let's start off with Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young has a legit shot to have a Heisman moment, not a Heisman moment, a Heisman-type game, because he has so many young receivers. As you know, the starting lineup for Alabama includes 5 new skill guys on tomorrow: Jahmyr Gibbs, Burton, Prentice, hot shot of the summer, biggest surprise of the summer, potentially him and Jaheim Otis, but definitely Kobe Prentice breaking the starting lineup outright is going to be out there for the first time. Trayshawn Holden, first time being a starter. So Bryce Young has a lot of weapons, and of course, don't forget the tight end Robbie Oots, as Latu is not back yet. So when you're looking at that, you know that Coach Saban is going to work with these guys to get them more experience. Not that these guys won't have the ability to get open. What will they be working on? It's timing. These first-time starters, even Burton, who started a lot of games, going to be a first time running out for the Crimson Tide. So he's going to be hyped up, going to have adrenaline flowing. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to do what he needs to do in order to calm himself and play at a level that allows him and Bryce to connect. So Bryce Young is going to be working on timing with these receivers, and I think because of that, you're going to see the plays called that allows him the opportunity to do just that. So I think that he will have an opportunity to put up some nice numbers, probably somewhere in the 275 to 300 or so range, just because I think we're going to run up the score on these guys. Is that going to be good enough to get him into the conversation? It is if he only plays 2.5 or so quarters. I think that's what you're going to see. I think he'll play the 2.5 quarters, not because he needs to for us to win, but because we need him to be conditioned and ready to play. Then you go to Jahmyr Gibbs. The thing about Gibbs is he has to depend on Bryce Young to give him the ball on the quarterback, OC to call some run plays. But I think you will see him not get as many carries as we would like, but I think you're going to see him take a couple of long runs. I think he's going to break a couple long runs, and you're going to see him do some damage with his legs early and often. And I also think he will have a couple catches. And don't be surprised if he catches one of those swing passes out in the flat and takes it to the house. So I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity there. But the guy who I think will absolutely be a train wrecker on tomorrow is going. I mean, in the game against Utah State is going to be Will Anderson Jr. Look for him to make his mark early and often. He will be unblockable, unstoppable. He will get off to an unbelievable start. 3 to 4 sacks, easily. I would say a 5 over under. I would say take 5 on tackles for a loss, including sacks. I just think that's the type of day he's going to have, where he has 5 or more tackles for a loss to include sacks. So my vote for the guy who gets the biggest lead and makes a statement for being the best player in college football on Saturday on the Alabama football team will be Mr. Will Anderson. Look for all three to have a big game, but Will Anderson definitely takes the lead there. Biggest question remaining, I kind of hit that a little bit already, but I'll reiterate. I think my biggest question right now on the defensive side of the ball would be the defensive backs being settled, and then our middle linebacker, can Jalen Moody, can this defense become the all-time best Nick Saban defense, or at least be in the conversation with Jalen Moody as the middle linebacker? That's my biggest question that Mr. Moody is going to have to answer each week, each game before it's settled. But the biggest question to me is the tight end position. You just cannot ignore the fact that you have Robbie Ouzts as a starting tight end. You have Kesselman from JUCO running back up, and then you have Danny Lewis Jr. as the third team tight end. Of course, we know the tight end question will be better when Latu comes back because of his experience. But right now, in week 1 and potentially week 2, Ouzts is the man. So can Ouzts bring enough to the passing game, or will we see some combination, Ouzts blocking, Kesselman in potentially as a receiver, or even a Lewis being a Billingsley type of athlete in the passing game? But either way, I think you're going to see this tight end position with some hills to climb to be at the level we want to see by the end of the year. I am excited about the fact when Latu comes back that if Ouzts and Kesselman have some good performances, it could lead to us having some of that big 3 tight end type formation that Georgia used so effectively against us and others throughout the year. So we'll continue to watch the tight end position as well. And as we continue to move along, you're listening to the Martin Houston Show, the season opening special as Alabama takes on Utah State in Bryant-Denny. Another quick thing I'd like to hit before we get the break here is let's take a moment and just let's look inside Alabama's playbook a little bit before we go to break. With this particular offense, what do you expect to see? What are you expecting to see from Alabama? What will be the offensive identity with this team? You may go, hey, we have a Heisman Trophy guy. It's going to be passing. That is a very, very high probability. You can't put Bryce Young on the shelf. He is clearly one of the most talented players to play at that position, and maybe clearly Nick Saban's most talented quarterback to play ever. So, you could easily see that as being the identity. but will he be hampered or limited a little bit by the fact that he has so many new skill position guys? He doesn't necessarily in the first lineup have any guys to take it off the top, but will we see Alabama work a Harrell into the rotation and give Alabama a chance to take the top off? Will Christian Leary be a guy who can take the top off? So we'll be watching that as well. Then you have the Jamar Gibbs effect, and then he's backed up by three capable running backs. And Nick Saban said he has five guys that he can trust in. And I wonder if that fifth guy is Emmanuel Henderson Jr., who actually is running third team wide receiver as well. So when you look at that, you can say Jamar Gibbs, Jace McClellan, Wardell Williams, Trey Sanders makes this team without a doubt a team that's going to have an identity that runs the ball. But also with at least the first two guys, you have some very capable and explosive guys in the passing game. So will it be a running back led type of offense? Maybe, possibly, but where you should look is that offensive line. And I think that offensive line may give you a clue and insight into what Alabama is going to do. First of all, the new offensive line coach, he creates maulers. He creates guys. When Kentucky can run the ball on you as effective as they did, then you know that they have some good coaching going on. And we're getting the benefit of that coaching from Coach Eric Wolford. So he is going to have those guys, those big maulers, those five starters, Tyler Steen, the Vanderbilt transfer, Kendall Randolph, the old head, the graduate that's been around, I think maybe 6th year, has worked himself into the starting lineup. Will he hold on to that position? I don't know. We'll talk about that on the other side with the buy sell. And then you have Darren Dalcourt, got some of that old school nasty, lost his job to injury and then couldn't get it back. But he got it back under Wolford, and maybe he's more of a power guy, a mauler guy than McLaughlin, who is more maybe of a finesse and mauler type. But either way, he's back in there. Then you got that right side, Emil Ekiyor Jr. and J.C. Latham. You have two young men that are going to maul people. So, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this will be a very balanced attack, which may make it difficult for Bryce Young to win a Heisman, but will make it definitely easier for Alabama to win a national title. Coming back on the other side, we're going to talk a little buy sell, maybe make a few bold predictions specific to the game, or we may save some of that content for part number 2. Either way, stay right here. When you come back on the other side, we will put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show, which is a special edition of the Martin Houston Show, the season opener special, part 1. All right, welcome back into the fourth quarter of the Martin Houston Show. It's now time for a 2-minute warning, and ready as I have my CEO. Time for us to get our mind right. That means it's time for football. Football. There's no better place, no better fan base, no better college to pull for than the University of Alabama. We have been on the mountaintop for some time now, and I don't see that coming to an end anytime soon, especially with the 2022 edition of the Alabama Crimson Tide. You listen to the Martin Houston Show special edition season opening special right here on the Martin Houston Radio Network. But you can catch me every morning, Monday through Friday, right on your radio dial at 100.9, or tune into the Martin Houston Online Radio Network. And that is Martin Houston fan page as a cornerstone. And on YouTube, you have Martin Houston Live, and on Twitter at Martin Houston 35. Want to thank you for being a part of the show. It's been great to have you as we get ready to go off the air here. Just want to ask you a couple quick questions. Who you think is going to get that first touchdown, man? I mean, you've been waiting all season. Who's going to be the guy that gets the first touchdown? My prediction is that we'll score quickly on the first drive. We'll score within 5 plays on the first drive, and it will be one of the two. Either Jahmyr Gibbs will take it to the house on a long run, and or he'll have a nice run, and then we'll come back and run maybe a little play action, a little read action, and then Bryce Young will hit one of his receivers across the middle, maybe on a post to post route to get that first touchdown. So both of the Heisman Trophy guys on the offensive side of the ball make a statement in drive number one. Who gets the first sack of the season? It's going to be Mr. Will Anderson, and he will get it on the first drive of the game. First defensive drive, defensive set of the game. So looking for those two things to happen. Wouldn't it be awesome to see the freshman Arnold get the first pick? Don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be one of our safeties. And I'm going to say ball hawking Jordan Battle comes up with the first interception of the game. And hey, listen, he might pick up and just take it to the house. Wouldn't that be great? And then from a special team standpoint, I hadn't really talked about that at this point. Really feels good to be going into the season where you have settled your kickers. Not looking for a punter. And Burnip is back. And then he's backed up by Jack Martin, who is a transfer, who is a big-time punter in his own right, just hadn't been able to beat Burnip out of the position. And then, of course, our field goal kicker, Mr. Will Reichert, handling that duty, and backed up once again by Jack Martin. Really good to have two experienced big-time kickers in the special teams game. And then from the return game, I'm bold prediction, we are going to have at least one special teams touchdown in the game against the Aggies. Not sure if it's going to be the kick return or if it's going to be the punt return. But if they kick it to Jahmyr Gibbs, if he gets an opportunity to return it, hey, that may be a way to start the Heisman hunt as well. So either way, we get something done when it comes to those two. One of the things I did not do, and I want to do before we go off the air here in the last couple minutes, is go back to inside the playbook on the defensive side of the ball and ask you a question. Do you think that we're going to see a lot of blitzing? Will there be a Grantham effect on this year's defense? I think that may speak to why we've seen a guy of the caliber and talent of Eli Ricks struggle. I think they're asking him to play a lot of zone. I think I know some people say, well, why would you blitz when you have the likes of Will Anderson and Dallas Turner on the field? The reason you blitz is so that they don't always have a landing spot. Now, the blitzes could be some stunts, and I say blitz, it may be some blitzing and stunting and looping, but we're going to see Will Anderson moved around. We're not going to make him an easy target to block. And one of the ways to make that a little more difficult is for you to add in some blitzes and require the offensive lineman to switch guys and double team and come off and cause guys to at least hesitate a moment, give Will a step, an advantage, or the inside linebacker. So look for the Grantham effect as we look inside Alabama's defensive playbook. Look for the Grantham effect to be seen. Now, here's the question. I'm not sure we'll fully see that on Saturday because these guys probably can't blitz and our defense may not show everything that we have. So, hold a little bit of what I said close to your vest, meaning that I'm not sure we'll actually see the Grantham effect on Saturday because that would tip our hand and give Texas, the Longhorns, a chance to prepare for some of the blitz packages. So we may save that and surprise them with it, but either way, you're going to see, I think, the Grantham effect as we move throughout the season. All right. Well, I guess it's that time. As far as a prediction, I'm not ready to give a prediction for the game. Usually don't give that till last minute and all the hay's in the barn and there's no last minute injuries or things like that. But clearly, Alabama wins this game, and I'm saying they may win it by 6 or 7 touchdowns. And because two reasons. One is Alabama is just that much better. The second reason is Nick Saban will play the starters longer than he normally would against this caliber opponent because he has to get the conditioning in for the Texas game. So look for Alabama to come out, jump on these guys early and often, and look for Alabama to do away with them quite early in the game. Fans, it's going to be a great night. It's hard to believe that the wait is over. It's time for let me see, what's the best term for this tour? Not revenge tour, because they really don't have a revenge. Well, I guess it could be a revenge tour because we get Texas A&M and hopefully Georgia in the SEC championship game. So I guess you could call it a revenge tour, but let's just call it another championship run as Alabama seeks to get one more championship and add it to the GOAT's resume, the Crimson Tide's resume, and you as a fan base resume. Hey, I'm Martin Houston. Follow at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter, at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. Also, go to Facebook and like the Martin Houston fan page. You can find it at Martin Houston Live fan page. You can go there, like it, follow it, share it, tell your family and friends about it. But most importantly, hey, this is a special edition. We'll do this throughout the season. We're also adding something in the mornings called Overtime when we don't get to a certain topic. But the core of what we do on the Martin Houston Show is Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 on the Martin Houston Radio Network online, starting with Facebook, the Martin Houston fan page that I just told you about, on YouTube, Martin Houston Live, on Twitter at Martin Houston 35. Tell your family and friends about the Martin Houston Show, and it is the sound of Bama sports. It's your show talking about your team. We'll see you Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. Thanks, and roll tide out there, everybody.